Who is Albert Fish? If you haven't already checked my video, Does the Boogeyman Really Exist? You can check it out down in the description below. Have you heard of the Gray Man, the werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn vampire, the Moon Maniac, or the Boogeyman? Many of you may have heard stories regarding these so-called monsters. This is especially the case with the Boogeyman. Hamilton Howard Fish was born on May 19, 1870, in Washington, D.C. His father was 75 years old at that time Albert Fish was born. His mother, on the other hand, was 32 when she gave birth to him. Furthermore, Hamilton was the youngest child of 3 siblings. Unsurprisingly, his father passed away shortly after his birth. With a name like Hamilton, he would be teased with the nickname Ham and Eggs, and because of this, he insisted he be called Albert after a dead sibling. Therefore, he became known as Albert Fish. There have been many cases of mental illnesses of his family members. His brother was in a mental institution while his sister had mental affliction. On top of that, his mother was bombarded with problems like hallucinations. Seeing that Albert was still young and their family had many problems already, his mom placed Albert into an orphanage. Fish recalled that he was there until he was nearly 9 years old, and in his very own words, he said, "That's where I got started wrong." In St. John's Orphanage, Albert Fish was abused day after day after day. There was nothing much that Albert Fish could have done. Slowly, he became aroused by practices that other kids did in the orphanage. One such thing was drinking urine and eating feces. By the time his mother took him back, the damage had already been done, and Albert Fish started an unholy relationship with a telegraph boy. In 1890, Albert Fish traveled to New York City. Desperate to find a job, he became a prostitute. At the same time, he began his long list of crimes. First, the raping of little boys. 8 years after his arrival in New York City, his mother had preset a marriage between him and Anna Mary Hoffman. Together, they had 6 children, 4 boys and 2 girls. No longer a prostitute, he began house painting to earn a living. However, even after the marriage, he continued his unsettling practices, targeting boys under the age of 6. Fortunately, in 1903, the law had caught up with him. However, unfortunately, it was not for the molestation of children, rather it was for grand larceny. Even though Albert Fish was married, he had multiple affairs with men. One of which brought him to a wax museum, which inspired Albert Fish to practice castration to a fellow mentally retarded man. In the beginning of 1917, his wife left him for a handyman, leaving Fish to take care of all of his children alone. This is where everything started falling apart. He began having auditory hallucinations and inflicting harm to himself. Nothing small like hitting himself, but harm that is too gruesome for the imagination. Soon after, he began developing a strange obsession with cannibalism, and even served his children human flesh. Time and time again, he began targeting African Americans or mentally disabled people. He would torture and mutilate children before killing them and possibly eating them. Finally, in late 1934, he was caught because he wrote an anonymous letter to one of his victims' parents. With police investigation, he was soon caught with the help of a janitor and the landlady Fish was renting with. There are many accounts of Fish's gruesome crimes, and you can find many cases of them online. Nonetheless, Albert Fish was a strange and mentally ill person who had developed a fetish with the reproductive anatomy. What he did was completely inhumane, and he will forever be remembered as the Boogeyman. I want to know what you think. Comment down in the section below and tell me if you think he was mentally insane or not. I only ask this because there was controversy in the court to deem him sane or insane. Thanks for watching, and until next time, please like, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow mates.